there was a preacher's son, and when his daddy would visit, he'd come along. When they gathered around, they started talking. That's when Billy would take me walking. Up through the backyard we go walking. Then he looked into my eyes. Oh, no, to my surprise, the only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. Yes, he was. He was. Ooh, yes, he was. Being good isn't always easy, no matter how hard I try. When he started sweet talking to me, he come and tell me everything is alright. He kiss and tell me everything is alright. Can I get away again tonight? The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. Yes, he was. He was. Ooh, yes, he was. Yes, he was. Oh, well, I remember the look that was in his eyes, stealing kisses from me on the slide, taking time to maintain, telling me that he's all mine, running from each other, knowing, looking to see how much we've grown, and the only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. Yes, he was. He was. Oh, yes, he was. The only one who could ever. He was a sweet loving son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. The only one who could ever was the son of a preacher man. The only one who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. He was a sweet loving son of a preacher man.
Woo! Isn't that wonderful? I love it. I love it. Oh, there he's coming in. He's coming in. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. This is exciting. Exciting. Hello. I love it. I love it. I think he's here. I want to do a little introduction, and then we're going to bring him on. We just played Son of a Preacher Man, and it was, you should have seen everybody dancing to it here. They're just shaking and rattling and rolling. This man he's a musician, he's an arranger, he's a producer. He was on Saturday Night Live, 187 live broadcasts. He played for the Olympics closing ceremony. He participated for music in Sister Act. And he was on the Emmy Awards, the Grammys. He played at Lincoln Center. The Late Show with David Letterman. Did I mention the Blues Brothers? Okay, I want to just throw out a few names too. Okay, these are some of the names that he worked with. I can't list them all because it would go on for days. Ray Charles, Carly Simon, Tony Bennett, Aretha Franklin, Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga, Whitney Houston. Okay, I could keep on going, but I'm going to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tom Bones Malone. Woo-hoo.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm feeling great.
Good.
You know, we just moved to LA from New York. I was in New York for 52 years, and we just moved here about 3 months ago, and we're loving every second of it.
I love it.
Perfect weather every day, and it always cools off at night, and it's dry heat, no sweating. Just turned 75 years old about a month ago, too. It's not that bad.
Happy birthday.
I feel like I'm 18.
I feel like I'm 14 sometimes.
There you go. There you
There's
go.
sometimes 99, but then I go back to 14.
I never wanted to grow up.
Where did that come from?
Well, I think it comes from music.
Yeah.
You play music, it's called play instead of work.
Yeah.
So, I just still like to play.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and by the way, how many instruments do you play?
I play 14 instruments professionally.
That's amazing. What was the first instrument that you picked up that you put to your lips?
I actually played the violin from age 5 to age 10. And then I gave it up, never should have given it up. And then started playing the tuba, and then the trombone, and then the trumpet, and then the saxophone, and then the flute, and just kept picking up other instruments. And I started arranging music when I was 13.
13? What was the first piece that you arranged?
I heard a song on the radio. It was called "Midnight in Moscow," and I wanted to know why it sounded the way it did. And so I started taking it apart and writing down every note of every instrument. And I had a chance to check my homework. I was snooping around in the back of the music store one day, and I found the arrangement, and I made about a 96 on it. It was pretty close. So I continued to do that sort of work. When I went to college, I took a course called Music Theory 101, and I answered all the questions. And then the teacher, for a couple of weeks, the teacher took me out in the hall. He says, "You don't have to come to class anymore. You get an A." So he said, "I want the other students to be involved in the class." He says, "You already know all this stuff."
He should have just had you teach it.
Well, I changed my major to psychology, and I found that more satisfying. And but I continued my career in music.
What about psychology? Why did that interest you?
Well, it helps you get along with other musicians.
Right. Now I want to go back to what you said about the violin. You should have never. Did you ever go back to the violin to play?
Well, we what happened is my father was in the military until I was 11. We moved every year. My father survived Pearl Harbor, U.S. Navy. So I was born in Honolulu, 1947. And anyway, I took lessons from a guy in the Honolulu Symphony, and I was in the Honolulu Youth Orchestra. And then we moved to Garden Grove, and I was in the Garden Grove Youth Symphony. And then we moved to someplace in Maryland, and I played in the Kitty Symphony. Then we moved to Pensacola. I played in the Kitty Symphony. Then when my dad retired when I was 11 years old, he bought a farm in Mississippi in the middle of nowhere, and there was no orchestra. I was milking cows, hauling hay, picking corn. We grew everything we ate except for maybe rice and coffee. Are
you writing a book, I hope?
I'm writing a book. I have 38 chapters already. Working title is Name Dropper.
Oh, this is great. Of course, with
obvious reasons. Yeah.
God.
But I've been very lucky through my career. I played with Little Stevie Wonder when he was 16.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. And I got to play with him several times during my career. He'd come on Saturday Night Live. He'd come on Letterman. We did a TV special down in Washington one time that he was involved in, and he always remembers me. I said to Stevie, "It's Tom, the trumpet player from Albuquerque," and he's always remembers me. Last time I saw him was at the Letterman show. I did an arrangement of "I Wish," and I ran into him in the elevator. I said, "Stevie, it's Tom, the trumpet player from Albuquerque," and he says, "It's nice to see you." I swear to God, that's what he said.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's making me cheer up just to think of it. I mean, when you talk about it, you can feel it. You just omit the experiences. Now you said Albuquerque. What are you?
Well, I played with him in El Paso and Albuquerque 2 nights. Back in, was it 1969?
Oh, okay, 69. I
think. Anyway, he's always been an inspiration to me. When he was 16, he was just recording the songs that the staff writers at Motown were writing for him.
Right.
But anyway, he had a sophisticated cassette machine and some nice headphones. And he says, he kind of took me in as a friend for whatever reason. And he says, "Man, I write my own songs. You want to check them out?" I said, sure. So I put on the headphones and I heard all this amazing music. And I said, who played on this? He says, I played everything.
Oh,
Bass, piano, drums, organ, guitar, all the vocals. And he was an inspiration to me. Well, he can play all the instruments, I can play all the instruments. And so I record an entire big band at my house by myself. Did I send you any of that stuff?
well, yes. Oh, we
Yeah.
and we played the one with Jay
Yes.
singing.
Yes.
We
And anyway, so the sky's the limit. I set up my little studio with a nice microphone and the Pro Tools 11, and I learned how to work the software. And I do production work for people all over the world. People send me their records. I arrange the horn parts and I put on the whole horn section by myself, and I email it back to them. I have clients in South Africa, Amsterdam, New York, Cleveland, Chicago, everywhere. And it's just a matter of emailing stuff back and forth.
and you love it.
I love it. I eat it up.
I can feel it. It's like boom, 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 boom. Sometimes when I'm doing stuff, a lot of different stuff, and sometimes I feel, David, you've got to slow down. But I enjoy doing all of it.
Yes.
It sounds like that's you.
It is indeed.
So where did Bones come from?
Bones was a nickname that a friend gave me in school, in high school, and it didn't really stick, but I remembered that name. And so there was a period in my history where John Belushi, we put together a band that was separate from Saturday Night Live, and it was called the Blues Brothers Band. And we had a meeting at John's house at 60 Morton Street, Greenwich Village. And he says, well, now we have a Donald Duck Dunn and a Matt Guitar Murphy in the band. So everybody has to have a middle name. And if you can't make one up that we like, we'll make one up for you. So I just immediately said, Tom Bones Malone. And then Danny and John both liked it. And Lou Marini says, how about Blue Lou Marini? Bang, done. And so John made up the nickname Alan Mr. Fabulous Rubin, and he made up Steve the Colonel Cropper. And so anyway, we all ended up with middle names. And so that, my friend in high school, Bobby Sims, gave me that name, and he doesn't even remember giving me that nickname, but it stuck.
Oh, I love that.
I was tall and skinny. I was like 6'2.5", and I weighed about 145 pounds. So I was skin and bone. So that's where
and you were just blowing that air right through all those instruments.
Absolutely. Breathing is a key to playing all the instruments that I play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Breathing.
By the way, that voice you hear is one of our music teachers, and he's the co-host today because, of course, music and music go together. And I want to get back to breathing, but I also want to bring in our wonderful Joe Seeby. Here comes Joe.
Hi, guys. Tom, it's a pleasure and a privilege meeting you and hearing your story, and your resume is amazing, and wow, it's just incredible. I'm so glad to be a part of today. It's wonderful to hear your take on music and the art of recording and the art of multi-layer recording, and being a multi-instrumentalist and being and throwing yourself into being an engineer and a producer as well. This learning curve at Pro Tools, it's just amazing. That in itself is a whole science, isn't it?
Well, I can't become obsolete in this world.
Exactly.
Technology is accelerating, and I see people that get left behind in the music business. When I first moved to New York, 1970, it was all the major TV shows had big bands, but the writing was on the wall. Rock and roll was the new thing, and I remember some studio musicians, like I remember a bass player and a drummer. They both said this rock and roll thing's never going to last. I said, I'm not going to go there. And those two guys were out of the recording business overnight because the recording business changed. And then I knew other people. Like I remember an upright bass player that says to himself, he says, I can play that rock and roll stuff. I can play electric bass.
Yeah.
Upright bass, so the Fender bass would be easy. So, he took it up and he just kept working.
You got to adapt. You got to
I see a Fender guitar hanging on your
yeah.
Yeah. I have a six, I have a 60, I have a 62 jazz bass
Oh, wow.
and a 59 Brown panel amplifier with the 212s.
That's a 51 reissue, but it's not a real one, of course. It's a 50. My wife bought it for me for my birthday.
Wow. Wow. What a nice lady. What a nice lady.
She's the best. We went into Sam Ash, and I
Yeah.
saw it on the wall, and I went to play it, and I gave it back to the man to put on the wall. He goes, "Oh no, here," and he brought the case, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm putting it back in the case. I said, but it was on the wall. He goes, yeah, I know. Your wife just bought it for you.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing like the thrill of a new instrument or an old instrument, but
I know.
a new instrument in your life. Yes.
Yes.
The hardest thing for me was, when I was first getting started out is getting an instrument to play. When I wanted to join the marching band, and when I was in sixth or seventh grade, and we went to the band hall on a Thursday night with my parents, and the music store guy had everything set up. I picked up a trombone, and I could almost play it. My dad says, "How much is it?" The guy tells him the price. He says, "We can't afford it." So we're walking out of the band hall, and the band director grabs me and he says, "You can play the school's tuba. You don't have to buy anything." So that's why I played the tuba.
Wow.
So the next year we got a band director that was a trombone player, saw me looking at his horn in his office, says, "You want to play that, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." Says, I explained my problem, and he said, so he loaned me his own personal trombone, showed me where the positions were, take this home and learn how to play it. And so I did, and I was first chair in about 3 weeks. And not that the band wasn't that highly skilled, but anyway, so my grandmother gave me $100 out of her Social Security check to buy a trombone.
Wow. Boy,
Then my little brother got a cornet, so when he wasn't playing it, I learned how to play that. And then when I was 14, some kids came over to my house, and a drummer and a couple of guitar players and a sax player. They said, "We're going to start a rock and roll band. You want to be in it?" I said, "Yeah, I want to be in it." So I wanted to hang with the guys, and I wanted to meet girls. So the usual. And
absolutely.
So I got at my trombone. This is 1960. I got at my trombone, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And it's like, I said, "What's up?" And they said, "You don't have trombones in rock and roll bands." And I said, "Why not?" They said, "Well, you just don't." So I said, "Well, I want to be in the band. What do I have to do?" He said, "You got to play saxophone." So my friend that was there had a tenor and an alto. And he started teaching me how to play tenor sax right then and there, right that night. And we worked out some songs that night. And I was motivated to learn how to play this instrument. So I got a fingering chart and I practiced, and we were playing gigs. 4 weeks later, we played our first gig. And so I started playing professionally at 14. And we played some sock hops, and we played some really sleazy clubs down in South Mississippi. You wouldn't believe. I told Dan Aykroyd the story about playing in a club where they had chicken wire over the bandstand, in case it got rowdy.
Oh no!
Of course, he put that in the movie.
They would throw stuff at the stage sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you consider your first big break?
Oh wow. Let's see. Well, who was it? Who was this? Who did the song "Rocking Around the Christmas Tree"?
Oh,
young artist from Nashville. Brenda Lee.
Oh, Brenda Lee.
Yeah, I got called to play lead trumpet with Brenda Lee in Jackson when I was in college, and it was 80 miles away, and I didn't have a car, so I had to hitchhike up every night. And this is when I was going to school in Hattiesburg, so I had to hitchhike up every night. Paid good paying job too. Paid $17 a night. So I went up there. Went up there every night, hitchhiked up and hitchhiked back, and I never caught a ride until the sun came up coming home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyway, I was the only guy that could hit the high note on the trumpet to play the lead trumpet part. And the full cycle, I was in the house band at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Awards when Brenda Lee was inducted, and she remembered the job. She remembered playing at the club.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what a cool memory, man.
Full cycle. Oh, I got a story that you might enjoy. Okay. The Blues Brothers almost never got off the ground. This is something that you've never heard. I was at the first meeting about the Blues Brothers. John and Danny had this idea of these two characters that were ne'er-do-well musicians in Chicago, and they wore sunglasses day and night, and they were orphans, and they were emotionally undeveloped. And so anyway, so it was just the three of us at the meeting, John, Danny, and Bones. And it's before I was Bones, actually. And so I wrote an arrangement of a song called Rocket 88, and we rehearsed the Saturday Night Live band, and we did it for Lorne Michaels. Didn't make the show. So the next week I did this arrangement of Hey Bartender, and we rehearsed the Saturday Night Live band and did it for Lorne. And week number 2, Lorne said, frankly, I don't see anything funny about the Blues Brothers. So we didn't make that the second week. So the third week, John, Danny, Blues Brothers this week. They said, we're wasting our time if Lorne doesn't like it. We got to move on. So, okay. So after read through on Wednesday about 3:15 in the afternoon, Lorne Michaels comes out of read through and he says, the show's 3 minutes short. What are we going to do? And John and Danny jumped right on him and said, Lorne, the Blues Brothers. So Lorne says, we have nothing worthwhile to put in those 3 minutes. You guys might as well make fools of yourselves. He put us on. And I could say that the rest is history.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Wow, what a story. Where did you meet Dan and John?
Well, I was in the original band at Saturday Night Live. October 3rd, 1975 was our first show. And I became the arranger for the show.
Right.
Wow.
And the music director called me to meet with them, because they needed an arrangement. And I got to play with a lot of people, like, a group called The Band from Woodstock came on the show, spring of 1976. Music director said, why don't you write some horn parts for some of their songs? And so I did. And I hit it off with all these guys. They loved the charts, and they took me on the road at summer of 76. Took me on the road with the band in the horn section. And in the fall, and Thanksgiving 1976, we did a movie called The Last Waltz.
I know that.
With Martin Scorsese in San Francisco. So that started a whole relationship. After the original band somewhat broke up after the Last Waltz, and Levon Helm formed his own band with Dr. John, Booker T. Jones, Paul Butterfield, Steve Cropper, Duck Dunn, Lou Marini, Alan Rubin, Tom Malone, Howard Johnson. We did a Japan tour and a few gigs around the United States, did 2 albums. And then so later down the road, when John and Danny were putting together a Blues Brothers band, I recommended Steve Cropper and Duck Dunn. And it changed the whole style of the band. At that point, the band was Chicago Blues. And when they joined the band, then they brought their Memphis influence into the scene. So we started doing, Wilson Pickett and Eddie Floyd songs. And it was really, it turned out to be a really good thing.
That's amazing. What a cool story that is. That is just amazing.
I'm hearing these stories, and I'm hoping when you have your book come out, you also do an audio version, because to hear it from your soul,
yes,
is
it's different than reading it. It's much different than just reading the pages.
I'm like listening to you and I'm tearing up because the stories are so rich, they're so full, and they're so heartfelt. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for sharing your life with us.
My pleasure.
I'm going to throw out a name.
Okay.
Whatever comes to your mind. Paul Shaffer.
Oh, well, I met Paul Shaffer at the original Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
He just came over for lunch a couple of weeks ago, and he just happened to be out in LA, but unusual. He has an unusual genius. He has a degree in sociology, by the way. My degree is in psychology. His degree is in sociology. He just sort of picked up music, and he has perfect auditory recall. He remembers everything he's ever heard. He remembers. He hears a song, he's got it. He he hears a song when he's 10 years old. He remembers it note for note, still.
Wow.
And he remembers conversations word for word that he and I had in 1975. And he just came to New York, and I was telling him about New York. Remember you said this, and remember when I said this, and he recounts the whole conversation. Yeah. So he's a pretty amazing guy on several levels. And
That's incredible.
he can play any of these songs. You know, he probably has 20,000 songs in his brain too. You name a song, he can start playing it, and he can play it in any key
That's crazy.
instantly. Yeah, yeah. I've used him on recording sessions before, and you don't have to write him a chart. You just play the song one time, and bang, he's got it.
And is that with the connection to, of course, to late night?
Well, here's the real story about late night. When let's see, so I was at Saturday Night Live from 75 to 85.
Right.
I took a little time off to do the Blues Brothers movie, but I was basically the arranger for the show for from 75 to 85, and I was the music director from 81 to 85.
Mhm.
So arranger and contractor and music director, and one day I got a call in 1982. I got a call from my unit manager, Liz Anderson was her name, Norwegian lady, and she says, "I got a new job. I'm the associate producer of the David Letterman show." And I said, "What's that?" She says, "You've never seen it. It comes on real early in the morning, but we're changing the show to late night, and we need somebody to lead a 4-piece band and be a personality. And I wonder if you'd be interested." And so the financial offer was about 20% of what I was making at Saturday Night Live. So I said, "You should call this kid Paul Schaefer. He'll take care of it." Paul had gone out to the coast to be an actor in a TV series called A Year at the Top. And they did about 6 or 7 episodes, and then the network pulled the plug on it. And so Paul came back to town about 2 weeks before this phone call. So I said, "You should call this kid Paul Schaefer." And I gave her Paul Schaefer's number. And next thing I know, I have in my office, I had a network feed monitor in my office. I'm writing an arrangement, and I hear this band playing, and I look over at the screen, and there's Paul Schaefer, Steve Jordan, Will Lee, and Hiram Bullock. And Paul got the job. Nobody even told me. So,
Wow.
So anyway, that was downstairs in our building. So I occasionally wander down there if I had time and say hello to the cats. And one time I remember hanging out with Lee Otwater down there, who was the head of the Republican Party, but he also a rhythm and blues guitar player. Interesting. I got a million stories like that. So when Paul got to when the show went to CBS, from NBC to CBS, he got in pressure from the network to enlarge the band because all the other shows in that time slot had bigger bands. So when he added 2 horns, he added me on trumpet and Bruce Kapler on tenor sax, and boom,
Wow.
back on television. So it was nice of Paul to do that.
Did you get to play with Anton Fig in that band?
Every night. Yeah.
I love Anton.
Amazing drummer guy. He's from Cape Town, South Africa. And
Yeah.
he was recently on the road with Joe Bonamassa.
I love Joe too.
Really good guitar player.
Yeah.
And he has a strangely enough, I just ran into the guy that's in charge of Joe Bonamassa's guitar collection. I just ran into him at LAX the other day as I was flying to Nashville for a gig. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was right behind me on the airplane, and he had 2 guitars in these old cases, and they were, he bought a seat for them. The 2 guitars are buckled in the seat next to him. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. You don't put those in cargo, that's for sure. I get it.
But Anton's one of the best drummers in the world.
I know him through Ace Frehley.
Ace Frehley, yeah, sure, of course. And one of the nicest guys too. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, Anton.
Yeah. I only met him briefly through Ace Frehley.
But that's the key. That's the key to success in any field that you decide to go into, is that be nice to everybody.
That's the truth.
Some of you people are staring at me like, "Yeah, your mother told you that, didn't she?" Yeah.
Well,
your mother was right. And don't ever think that you're superior to anybody else. In the eyes of God, we're all on the same level. And so, and I'll give you an example of how being nice to somebody can pay off. You never know who's going to open a door for you in your life. When I was a music director of Saturday Night Live, I had a friend named Rich Gentile, and he was an intern. So it wasn't like I was up here and down. No, we're on the same level. He's a nice guy. We became friends. It's a non-paying job. It's like you're in college and you try to make some connections. So one day Rich says to me, he says, "Bones, I got an entry level job at NBC Sports." And I'm like, "Congratulations, Rich." And he says, "Bones, if I ever need a band, I'm going to call you." And well, how nice of him to say that. Did I take it very seriously? No. But still, 4 years later, the kid calls me up and he says, Bones, he says, I'm the producer of the Fox 5 sports show in Chicago.
Wow.
We need a theme for our show. You think you could write one? I'm like, yeah. So I wrote one, recorded it, sent it to him, and ran for years. Same guy, Rich Gentile, calls me up. It was 1993. Was it 93 or 94? Might have been 94. And he says, Bones, he said, I'm producing 4 TV specials for Coca-Cola in Atlanta, called Backstage at the Super Bowl. It's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the Super Bowl is on Sunday in Atlanta. So you want to be the music director? Do you want to bring a band out from New York? You want to write the charts? Yeah. So I mean, how nice of the kid to think of
Wow.
do that. And then a few years later, he calls me. He says, Bones, I'm producing a TV special for Coca-Cola called Backstage at the World Cup in Los Angeles at the Universal lot. And you want to be the music director? You want to get a band together? Oh yeah. I had Terry Bozzio, Jeff Skunk Baxter. I had the Jerry Hay horn section. Ridiculous band. And so, I mean, how nice of the kid to think of me. And so the after party, after the show's over, I'm sitting at the table with the producer and the director, and the president of Coca-Cola comes up to the table, said, I really enjoyed the music. So I said, he says to me, where are you sitting tomorrow? And I'm not going. He says, why not? So, well, I don't have a ticket. So he goes up to his room and comes down and gives me a ticket to the World Cup. So now I'm on the phone. All the flights in and out of LA have been booked for 6 months in advance. So there's no way for me to get home, go to the show and get home to do Letterman on Monday. So make a long story short, I still have the ticket, unused ticket to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man.
Well, we have a lot of students here who've been wanting to ask you questions about many things. So we're gonna bring on one now. I've known her for 25 years now, going on 26. Shannon Dierix. Shannon Dierix.
Hey.
Hi, Shannon.
Hey, what's your favorite jazz music?
My favorite jazz music? Oh, I've got so many favorites. I played with Gil Evans for the last 15 years of his life. Gil Evans was known as the best jazz arranger for his work with Miles Davis. And Sketches in Spain, Miles Ahead, Porgy and Bess. And he became my father for his last 15 years of his life, from 73 to 88. And so, I mean, I just always loved jazz. There's something about improvising, creativity that I love about jazz. I actually played on the road with Woody Herman, and I recorded with Buddy Rich, and I played with Louis Bellson's big band in LA. Actually, when I moved to LA to work with Frank Zappa in 1972. And when I was in town, I played lead trombone with Louis Bellson's band at Dante's. Anybody remember Dante's on Lancashire? Anyway,
Sounds familiar.
but yeah, I love jazz. One of the most memorable jazz experiences was the Japan tour, 1983. Miles and Gil. Yeah. And Cicely Tyson was Miles' girlfriend on the road. That was an incredible 5-week tour. And then I also played on the last recording with Miles Davis in Montreux, Switzerland with Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Miles passed away about three weeks later. Yeah.
Mm.
And we had I remember that especially because we had a night off in Montreux the next night, and Claude Knobs, the head of the festival, says, George Clinton is playing here tomorrow night. He didn't bring his horn section. Do you want to play with him? I'm like, yeah. So Lou Soloff, George Adams, and I were the horn section for George Clinton the next night. Yeah. So you just never know what's going to happen in life. You just got to be ready. You got to be ready. And we just made up parts on the stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the improvisation of music, life.
Yeah. But
It-
your willingness to say yes is amazing, and your that's what so many people don't realize is the availability, being on time, being friendly, um, being easy to work with, all those things keep repeat business,
Yes. And the more ammunition you have, like the more different styles of music you can play, the
Oh,
more chances you have of being employed. I played on all the salsa records in New York, on all the Fania records, Willie Colon, Hector Lavoe, Ruben Blades, Johnny Pacheco, Mongo Santa Maria. I played on all those records, and I played on all of the Hasidic rock recordings in too. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mordecai Ben David. If you ever went to a bar mitzvah or a Jewish wedding, they always play Mashiach. That was his big hit song. I played with his band. I played with his band for years. We sold at Wembley in London. Yeah.
that's amazing.
I love it. Isn't it great, Shannon? You ask one question and it just floods out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
What kind of music do you like, Shannon?
I like any type of music.
There you go. That's the right attitude. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, because there's a lot of good music in every style, right?
That's absolutely correct.
I used to like everything except country music, and now country music has changed. Country music's not really country anymore. It's just pop music. Sometimes they wear cowboy hats and wear boots, but it's just nice pop music. And some of the best composers of pop music are in Nashville now.
Oh, some of the lyricists are just incredible. Oh my God. Like the stories in country music.
Oh yeah.
They're
You
so,
have
I mean,
Oh,
I love their ability to take something so small, like, writing a song about a waitress that she's invisible to everybody else, but she's a hero to a little boy at home waiting for her, like that kind.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yeah.
able to blow up those.
Yes.
They're able to blow up those, what you would call like a mundane thing that people don't normally look at, and suddenly it's the focal point.
Oh yeah. Well, there's always something interesting to write about, and something that people can relate to. Real life. That's real life.
Yeah.
I want to throw out a name. See what comes to your mind. Sally.
Sally. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I met my wife Sally at the airport, at JFK Airport 15 years ago, and I was divorced about 6 months, and I see this kind of cute girl behind me in the before we go through the security X-ray, and then I see her on the other side. And I see her zipping up her boot. I said, "Where are you headed?" She says, "LA." I said, "Me too. What flight?" She's on an earlier flight. So, "Did you live in New York or LA?" And she says, "Both." So I said, "Well, where do you live in LA?" And she says, "Do you know LA?" I said, "Well, I moved out there to play with Frank Zappa in 1972. And she says, "Gail Zappa is one of my clients, and Moon and Dweezil and Ahmed and the whole family are her clients. So what are the chances of that happening?" So we started talking, and I went for a cup of coffee before she had to get on her flight first. And then, gave her my card, and I said, "Call me, when you come back to town." She was planning to come back to town in about a month. So we started talking before she got there, about a week in advance, and we went out, and it was all over. And best thing that ever happened to me.
That's wild, man. What a great story that is.
And she was she understands my life in entertainment too. She was a professional ice skater for the ice capades for 4 years, Hollywood actress, dancer on the Donnie and Marie show. So and so she understands my life, and she's been a nutritional consultant for the last 35, 40 years. Yeah. Hello.
Well, she has saved my life.
Well, she keeps me healthy. I can tell you that much.
Great.
Yeah, I lost 30 pounds during the pandemic.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm 175. And
That's amazing.
I work out every day. I do 400 crunches. I do, hand weights, chest weights. I walk every day, and just trying to stay alive. My doctor says I'm going to 100.
Wow.
You know who turned 100 today?
Who's that?
Norman Lear.
Yeah, you're right. I just saw that I saw that. Yeah. Wow. What a brilliant guy.
Well, hopefully we'll all get there too.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
I had a friend who wanted to make it so bad. I went to high school with him, and he wanted to know, he says, if you think about it, please ask him his favorite story on Letterman.
Favorite story on Letterman?
Yeah.
Wow. It's not really suitable.
Oh,
Well, should I tell it anyway?
if you feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Well, so Letterman's doing the monologue, and he says, "I say the guy in Kansas City got arrested for having sex with a cash machine." And yesterday, and I said, I whispered to Paul. We have this little intercom system. I whispered to Paul in my microphone. I said, he wanted to come into money. So Paul stopped the show and gave Letterman the punchline. And the show was just, I think we were off for about 2 minutes, and Dave was like, "Where were you at the meeting? The band has to write some material for the show now." So anyway, went on. So that was my little 15 seconds.
Oh my God, that was
It's
funny.
funny, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything dirty or otherwise. It was
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
it was just humor.
No,
yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
We gotta have humor, especially nowadays.
Oh no, I know.
Playing with Snoop Dogg was outstanding on Letterman. Playing with Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson, he came on and we were backing him up. He just pointed at me on when the show's rolling, and just pointed at me to play a solo. And bang. So yeah, it's there's so many wonderful moments on that stage.
Where did you learn to improvise like that, or have you always? Is it just in your system?
Well, when I started playing saxophone, with that band I was telling you about when I was 14. But I always wanted to make the trombone a rock and roll instrument. Especially after that day they told me, "Oh, we don't need a trombone in our band." So the way I wanted to make the trombone a rock and roll instrument was to make the trombone sound like a saxophone. Conceptually, I would play a trombone solo, but I'm thinking saxophone. And thinking about all the soul records that I've heard that had sax solos on them, all the jazz records that I've heard, with saxophone solos. And so, and it kind of worked.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's like Alan Holdsworth tried to make his guitar sound like a saxophone. It was,
Alan Holdsworth, brilliant.
Oh, I love Al. I loved him. He was so amazing.
Oh, he left us too early.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did.
We have another question from one of our family here, Mr. Mark Wells. Mark Wells is here today.
Hi.
Hey, how are you, Mark?
Good. We just moved a couple of weeks ago to another apartment.
Moving is tough. We just went through
Yeah,
that.
2-3.
Wow.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
That my mom gave me. Which was your first brass instrument that you played in high school?
That was the tuba.
Tuba.
Oh.
It was a tuba. I was actually 7th grade, but it was a high school. The school I went to in Mississippi was 1 through 12, all in the same school. And they were like, you could be in the band if you could play an instrument. You could be in the band at 4th grade. So we had a 28-piece marching band, and there was usually 6 or 7 high school students in the band. So the music wasn't that complicated. It was the Bennett Band Book #1. That was all we played. But I could play the tuba parts and the trombone parts and the trumpet parts, and I just you learn from wherever you can. But yeah, the tuba was the first brass instrument that I played, and then moved on to trombone about a year later.
Hey Tom, do you read music, or do you read charts, or do you?
I can read it perfectly the first time, and I'm also a music arranger. I arranged all the music for the Blues Brothers movie. I wrote 2,700 arrangements for television during my career at Saturday Night Live and at Letterman. Here's an arranging story. Our general schedule at Letterman was we taped the show from 4:30 to 5:30. Then it was shown at 11:30 at night. But so go upstairs, change clothes, almost out the door, and Paul's assistant says, "Can you meet with Paul in his dressing room?" So Paul says, "Renee Fleming's going to do the top 10 tomorrow." Now, granted, it's about 5:45. He says, "Renee Fleming's going to do the top 10 tomorrow. We need 13 opera excerpts by 11 in the morning. Here's the CD with the 13 opera excerpts. And here's Renee Fleming's latest CD. Figure out what key she should sing them in."
Oh, no.
See, now ordinarily you rehearse with the singer with a piano and figure out the key before you start writing the charts. So I had 11 plus, I had about 15, 16 hours to write this stuff.
Wow.
So I got it done. And one was in the wrong key. I had everything in my laptop. I transposed it in my laptop and printed it out in Paul's office next door to the rehearsal, and everything went smoothly. And I envisioned Renee Fleming as being a real diva type character who was going to give us a hard time. She turned out to be delightful, great sense of humor, easy to work with. Just exactly the opposite of what I was thinking at 4 a.m. You know?
Yeah.
But and then you can see that on YouTube. Letterman top 10 Renee Fleming. It's on YouTube, the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, so after Paul gives me the assignment, he says, "Bones, how are we going to pull this off?" I said, "I'll play flute. We'll get our sax player, Aaron will play oboe. We'll hire a clarinet player, and we'll hire a French horn player. You know, from my knowledge of opera music, that should do it. And Paul, you'll play the string parts on the string synthesizer." And it worked.
Wow.
Ah.
That and you know, to be under that kind of pressure, and to do it all in the time that you did it in, you know, this is right here, you guys watching Tom right here. This is why he's successful. He gets a challenge and he handles it and gets it done. Doesn't make excuses. Gets in there, handles his business, and gets it done. Gets it done in time. And
Yeah.
you got to be able to, you know, when you suddenly accept the challenge, you know whether or not logistically you're able to actually do it in the time that it's
Oh yeah.
You know, asked of you.
There's nothing more deadly than a live TV show. There's no, I need another hour. No, you can't. You got to get it done.
Yeah.
I had another experience. One day they on the Letterman show, they sent a camera down to Sam Ash Music on 48th Street, right? Now they got the camera. They got the camera on this kid that has a trumpet gig bag over his shoulder, and they say, "You want to sit in with the Letterman show band?" And the kid says, "When?" He said, "Right now." The kid runs away, runs out on the street, gone. So they find a kid with a saxophone over his shoulder. "You want to sit in with a Letterman band?" "When?" "Right now." The kid runs away, runs out of the store. So then they find this girl behind the counter. You know, now she can't run away. So they say, "Are you a musician?" "Yes." "What do you play?" "Alto sax." "You got your horn?" "Yeah, it's right here." "Well, you want to sit in with a Letterman show?" "Sure." Bang. So now the camera's following her up the street. She comes on the bandstand. Paul says, "What songs do you know?" She says, "I don't really know any songs by memory, but if you can write them out for me." You know, so Paul just says, "Isn't she lovely? Tom, what key should she put it in?" "Tom, write her out a part." Bang, write it. Scribble, scribble. Just as they go to commercial, I hand her the part and we play the song. The rhythm section in that band, we know they knew all the standard songs.
Oh yeah.
So, and anyway, we did, you know, we covered every commercial break of the show like that. Well, what, Paul, you know, what song should we do? Well, what key should we put it? Yeah. So Paul always asked me what key we should put things in.
Yeah, that band was ferocious, man. You guys were amazing.
Another time, the show's already on. We're already recording the show. Paul says we have to play Stars and Stripes Forever to play somebody on with, like, you know, in 3 minutes. He said, "Tom, you play the piccolo part, and what key should we play it in?" Okay, so I know it's an A flat, but I'm thinking about the piccolo part, and I know the piccolo part because I used to play it on the tuba as a novelty when I was younger, and so I just said, key of G. So now that plays pretty easily on the piccolo, at least better than A flat. So we played the song and he counts it off really, really fast. Da 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 da. And then we ended up playing that song many times on the show. So when I get a call from the Terra Winds in Atlanta, they want to hire me to be their guest artist. They call me 6 months in advance and I booked the gig. It's a 70-piece concert band made up of music educators in the Atlanta area, all fine musicians. And so 3 weeks before the gig, they say to me, we heard you play Stars and Stripes on the piccolo. We want you to come out in front of the band and play it. So I know it's going to be an A flat. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I bought a D flat piccolo and now the song is still in G. And so I went out in front of the band at the concert and played the piccolo solo. And then as I was walking back off the stage, 11 piccolo players came up behind me and played it again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. You never know. Got to be prepared. You got to.
You now bought it a new piccolo, like right there, because
It was actually an antique 1907
wow.
D flat piccolo. Yeah, I don't know if they even make D flat piccolos anymore.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's an antique.
Man, but just your ability to adapt and just keep rolling with those punches, man, it's amazing. It's a lot.
You've been there. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody calls a tune and you're like, yeah.
I've had pressures like where, like I've written music for film and television, like a supervisor, and they, they need it on their desk by this date, and it's it's ridiculously close. And they wanted me, like I did this one album called Guitar Gods, where I had to sound like all these guitar players from the Allman, Van Halen to Steve Vai to all these even classics like Jimmy Page. And then the contract they sent me was, you must know who it is in the first minute of listening, but it can't be any of their songs.
Oh, right. Well, so that's I got to play with Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page at the same time.
Oh my God.
And with Vinnie Colaiuta and Tal Wilkenfeld, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Awards, Cleveland. When was it? That was an amazing moment of my life too. And another amazing moment was when Ringo Starr got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Paul McCartney came in to give him the award. By the way, I played on Paul McCartney's most recent album too, Egypt Station. But anyway, so Paul says, well, we had this band in Liverpool, and our drummer wasn't working out. And so we started auditioning drummers that lived in Liverpool. And so this one guy comes in, he has a good beat. Another guy comes in, he's got a good beat. Another guy comes in, he's got a good beat. And this guy Ringo comes in, he's got 5 or 6 different beats. So I said, I think we should go with Ringo. Mm-hmm. And both these guys turn out to be very nice people, just be nice to everybody. Both these guys, it's not like I'm up here and he's, who's bigger than Paul McCartney? But he's just a regular guy. It's just like, he talks to me it's a session. He's just nicest guy. I understand why they call him Sir Paul.
Mm. Is there anyone you haven't worked with that you'd like to work with?
The only person I didn't work with in my life was Frank Sinatra. And I got to call Joe Malone, his concert master contractor, called me to play in Atlantic City when I was living in New York. And I had another gig, so I had to turn it down. And Frank left us 3 years later. So I have all his albums, but and he always worked with the best arrangers. So if you listen to the arrangers that worked with Frank Sinatra, there's a lot of stuff to be learned. Nelson Riddle especially. But I've learned a lot about music by transcribing music. A lot of stuff that Paul would ask me to do at the show was just write down the parts on this record. And so I have learned how to put records together just by taking them apart note by note. Wow,
that's incredible too, man. Transcribing that's a whole different animal right there.
Wow.
What brings you the most joy in life?
Making other people happy. And mostly by playing music. If I can get to that, musician and magician are almost the same word. And you probably never thought about this either, but music is invisible. You can watch somebody playing an instrument, playing a cello, playing a guitar, playing drums and stuff. You can watch, the people in motion, but the music itself is invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like dealing with that. I like communicating with people with the invisible.
I always love that too, like where you can reach somebody you've never met through your music and touch them and even change their life. Somebody even in a different country. I mean, it's so amazing.
Yes.
We can. I always think that music is such a. We don't realize how much communication we receive through music. It's not just.
Right. There's no translation involved in instrumental music. I've
Right.
done 4 tours of Japan, and you don't have to speak a word of Japanese in order to play music that they understand. And
Exactly.
on one tour, we did 5 weeks in Japan with Gil Evans, and then we went on a State Department tour to Manila, Hong Kong,
Wow.
Singapore, and Bangkok. And once again, I mean, you're really, you're in a different country when you're in Thailand, but oh my God. But the music communicates. That's one of the wonderful things I like about instrumental jazz.
Yeah, my wife is Chinese, and I've gone to concerts, Chinese artists. When we went to Las Vegas, we saw Alan Tam.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been to China. I went to shows in China with my wife, and it's just it's amazing. Just me, And she's like, "Are you enjoying yourself?" I'm like, "Of course I'm enjoying. This is music. I don't have to know what they're saying in order to experience the beauty in it."
Right. It's something that touches everybody.
Yeah, and I actually years ago produced it was like a 20-piece African band.
Wow.
Yeah, and they all came into my studio and recorded the album, and I produced it and engineered it, and it was it was such an amazing experience, and I got to interact with all these musicians that I would have never met otherwise. It was just incredible how their rhythm and timing and
Oh yeah.
and the accents and all the music. It was incredible. I was in my glory. And I was just mesmerized by their beauty and art of what they did, and the music they created was just.
Oh yeah, they're more rhythmically advanced than, generally speaking, than American musicians. We get a little beat going and we play along, but their rhythms are so complex, and working with Cuban and Puerto Rican salsa people, it's the same thing. The rhythms are so far advanced.
They're so refined and woven. It's just like the fabric of it becomes music itself, even though it's not like a melodic instrument. It becomes a melodic instrument by the weaving of the complexity of them all working together. Yeah, it's amazing.
Here's another concept that I came up with. Music harmony and color harmony are the same. Like if you bring, you can hear 8 or 10 octaves, you can only see 1 octave, but the relationship of the frequencies of the colors are the same. The harmonies are the same as the relationship of the notes. Like, okay, so envision red, yellow, and blue.
Right.
Okay, now these things harmonize, and it's kind of a happy, bright thing, right? That's C, E, and G, right? Okay, yes, you break it down to frequencies, and imagine orange, green, and purple. Now these harmonize too, but it's a whole different psychological feeling. And that's the D minor chord. Yeah, see, so now music and color harmony are all the same.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because like early on, I went to guitar lessons. I literally had only 1 lesson on guitar. And the guitar teacher, this was back in Philadelphia at the Jerry's Drum and Guitar Shop in Philly. And the guy says, all right, sit down and play for me. So I'm playing, I'm going up and down the neck and doing all this. I'm doing all these runs and stuff. And he's like, all right, what do you call that? I said, I don't know. Cause I to me, I was making it up, you know, it was, and he's like, do you know what the name of that scale is? I'm like, no. He goes, well, what do you call it? I said, I call it the happy scale. He's like, that's the major scale. And then he goes, what's that one you just did? And he stopped me again. He said, what's that one you just did? I said, that's the Egyptian scale. He goes, no, that's a harmonic minor scale. So like, he's the one, like, I didn't know any of the names of anything. I was just like doing it because I liked it and it sounded good to me. But he's the guy that I give him so many props because he's the one that actually put names to the scales.
Right.
So when you brought up the color scheme, I immediately understood what you meant just because of the way that I learned it was so raw and basic by just emotional, naming it emotional feelings from, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that's how, that was my connection to, you know, but your color association was so amazing. Just,
Wow.
yeah, that was cool. Really cool.
You know, I know it's almost time to say adieu, so to say, but we could keep talking. I mean, I can't wait till your book comes out.
Me too. I'm buying it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I hope someday, whenever we open again, maybe you could drop by or something. And
Would love to. I would absolutely love to. Keep me in mind. Stay in touch.
oh, I would love it.
Tom, we'd love you. We'd love you to come to the studio. We have a beautiful recording studio at our facility too, which is
Well,
really.
I have to come by someday.
We would love it. We would absolutely love you to come. You're welcome anytime.
Be my pleasure.